Hello and welcome to Generic Sports Podcast. I'm your host, the Goose, Josh.
And I'm John.
We're gonna talk to you about the NFL in Week 4. We didn't have another podcast since our Week 3 episode, so we'll talk about Thursday night, which honestly was a really good game. Lions and Packers. It wasn't really great in the first half, but the fact that the Packers were coming back and making it a game, I was really entertained, and I do think the Lions are starting to feel real and legit, and I think they're gonna keep getting better as the season goes on.
They're one of the best. Yeah, I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I know they're not like perfect like the other two teams in the NFC, but I think they're going to have. I think they're a scrappy team that can match up against anyone. I mean, and since they beat Chiefs already, like they've beaten some quality teams. So
right, and yeah, they lost to Seattle, but Seattle should be making a comeback. They've got a good team.
Seattle might depending on how things go. Seattle, Seattle has a good record right now too, so they're not.
Yeah, they're not doing bad at all.
Yeah.
I was gonna say on the other side, the Packers. Yeah, they're 2-2. They had a 1-point loss to Atlanta, but I think they're right in the hunt of for a wild card. Jordan Love's looking like they're a second half team right now. They need to play like the whole game. But other than that, I think if they just keep getting some momentum, and they'll be in the thick of it. I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Packers.
When their O-line gets healthier, they'll probably be a stronger team, because you can't do anything if they're getting too much pressure on you, and there's only so many good O-linemen in the NFL that the backups aren't going to be that great.
When you need 5 linemen on the field for 30 teams, that's 150 players. That's a big chunk of, that's why it's the same thing with wide receivers, and why it's really rare, for everybody to be able to play quarterback. There's a lot of positions, and a lot of, some of them you need multiple people. So,
Yeah, and having a good O-line depth is key in the NFL.
It is. That being said,
but yeah, that's what I just feel was Jordan Love's issues. But Jordan Love still looks good.
Right. Jared Goff looked great. That was I can't wait to see them play again. So might even get it a third time this season, depending on how the teams if the teams make the playoffs and stuff.
Yeah, the NFC North will be interesting to see where they go.
Well, those two teams in the NFC North.
I mean, the Vikings, if they're as good as their statistics are and figure out how to win, they could still be it.
Well, the key to them winning is basically Kirk Cousins cannot be the best quarterback for the day, because that's just yeah. I mean, we might as well just go into the week and start talking about the Vikings
and the Panthers.
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins didn't have a good week. But the team won, so they should have won all their games, because their team just looked that good. Kirk Cousins was playing that good. So.
On paper, his statistics are freaking fantastic. So you think they would have more than one win, but I think their defense also scored this week, so that helps.
Right. The Panthers, I mean, they're still a rebuild team. I think that's part of why Frank Reich got the job, because it's a long-term project. The Panthers they're looking good already, but they're a lot more competitive under Frank Reich. And Bryce Young's just he's getting better. That defense looks fantastic.
Giro's defense is always good, and they just need Bryce Young just needs to get more experience, I think.
Yeah, he'll get there
and stay healthy too.
Yep. Anything else on the?
I was hoping for more fantasy points from Adam Thielen for the revenge game, but he still did good.
Right, he was definitely getting the ball more, but I mean, he's got to be your top target on that team right now. So him and I think Caden Hurst. Yeah. Well, I guess before
it's looking up for the Vikings, though. Looking up for the Vikings.
Right. I mean, it's only other way. There's only a few other teams that look worse. We'll go on to our next game. I guess we can we'll talk about one of those teams that looked really, really bad because we could spend a few minutes on this one. First of all, wow. I'm truly shocked that the Bears lost. The Broncos did not look great on defense until the second half. Like we played as we should have, a second half team. We were a second half team this time. As a Broncos fan. The Bears though, like they looked so good. Like they were making Justin Fields look like, oh yeah, see, he's a confident starter. He had 4 touchdowns in the game. And he went like I think like 16 passes in a row.
Something like that,
he
yeah.
was looking like Tua last week in the first half. And then it all fell apart. And the Broncos scored, and the defense stopped, and the Broncos scored, and the defense stopped, and then the Broncos didn't score on offense, and then scored on defense, and really stopped to tie up that. I think that was the tying score, but it's still there were 3 scores in a row, and then we outscored them. Like they didn't stop us. They turned the ball over. Well, they turned the ball over 3 different ways. Justin Fields fumbled it, and then they stopped him on downs instead of going for a field goal kick that would have put them in the lead, and the Broncos would have had to go down the field to get at least a tying field goal. And then, but they didn't, so they got the ball back, and Justin Fields had to try to make a comeback from behind victory, or at least a tie, and he couldn't. That's when he threw his first interception. End of the game. And it's just like, how does that happen? Like Matt Eberflus does not have like any kind of comeback quality wins or anything like that to be like, oh yeah, we should just not kick the points. Like they have lost, I think, 14 straight now?
Something like that. But yeah, they should have kicked the field goal. They didn't have any reason not to kick the field goal. But I feel like on some interceptions, like sometimes they're just bad throws by the quarterback, but like half the time or most of the time, the defenders actually make good plays, and I feel like, how is that the quarterback's fault if the defensive back or whoever is doing their job correctly?
Right. I'll just say, like, this I forgot to say it earlier, but this was like our start of our like most surprising games, and this is like the Bears were just like we're doing our most surprising and most disappointing. It can be this was both, because it was surprising as a Broncos fan to watch the team actually come from behind down 21 points and actually win, because they blew the 18-point lead that they had a few weeks ago. So as a Broncos fan, maybe they can come back. Maybe the defense can start playing a little bit better like this, because I mean, yeah, it was Justin Fields, but Justin Fields was looking good. So if any quarterback can look good, we can just make sure we can stop them, so they stop. They're not looking good, and that could help us lead the victories. Again, Russ looks good. I think he had 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. I think he's 11 in touchdowns, 2 interceptions for the year. He's looking way better, and that's what Sean Payton, came in the league to do, or came back to the Broncos to do. But that team really surprised me, because the Broncos could be 0-4 right now.
I mean, it was just luckily it was the Bears who, I guess, bared.
They were unbearable for sure. But man, so Sean Payton, he cut off his sleeves at some point, and it's like, was that the spark? Does he have to cut off the sleeves every week or something?
He will. I totally believe he will cut off the sleeves every time if they're down.
Yeah, but they just that was just a wild game. Like I was watching the Red Zone. I was just like, I couldn't really turn into that game. I was just like, I'm like, and then it was just like, whoo, oh boy, it's like, comeback? What? And that is why the Broncos are on the most surprising list Well, that game is on the most surprising list, and a complete disappointment from the Bears. Another, I don't know if there's anything else to really. I guess I should also say, Jaleel McLaughlin. Like he definitely he had to come into the game because Javonte Williams got hurt, but he was looking good.
Yeah, I think he had a good stat line.
Right. I mean, for a rookie and coming off the bench basically, he did really good. So I heard Javonte's supposed to be okay. So we'll see if they split some carries, but like they could definitely be a good 1-2 punch. That being said, we're gonna move on to our next. This is why I call it like most surprising, most disappointing, because this next game was both. The Titans were a heck of a surprise, and the Bengals were so disappointing. I mean, Tennessee came off of them. I think they just scored 3 points last week. I forget what team they played, but last week. But they didn't look good last week. There were like a lot of questions, and nobody was catching the ball.
No, everyone was catching the ball, and Derrick Henry looked like Derrick Henry again.
Right, Derrick Henry was throwing the ball even. So
yeah, he pulled off that one. He pulled off another touchdown, another quarterback pass touchdown, like he did, and I think it was against Green Bay here. And it's like I think we watched that play, and I'm like, he's gonna throw it.
Right.
It just worked well. The Bengals looked fantastic last week, but they looked like they couldn't do anything. And with how well their defense was looking, you'd think they would have been the one with 27 points. But
right. Well, and I mean, funny enough, it was the Browns that they played last week, the Titans, and they lost 27-3. So the fact that they went on to play and win, they won 27-3 is ironic, funny. It really is funny for the Titans. So like, I don't know what kind of Titans team we're gonna get for the rest of the season, because they do look like they're 2-2 record realistically, but the Bengals. I don't know. Just rest Joe Burrow. Like
rest Joe Burrow. I mean, T. Higgins got hurt. Doesn't help things, but.
Right? I mean, Joe's just standing there in the pocket. He's not looking like himself. It's really sad. It's as why I said they're disappointing, because it's not just T. Higgins. They got Jamar Chase. They got Tyler Boyd. They're supposed to have a better O-line, and they do not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Joe Burrow can't like move around and can't like get his footing correctly, then the O-line has to do a bit more work. And if they're not doing what they should, then this is leading to the Bengals' problems.
Right. And the Bengals don't have a bad defense. They were looking good on Monday night last week.
Right. The Rams looked like they couldn't do anything against the Bengals last week, and now the Bengals look like they couldn't do anything.
Right. At least I wish that I know they had a flea flicker, but at least they're trying plays. They're trying to get the ball going, and that's exactly what Titans need. So we'll see how the Titans do next week. I'm not so sure. The whole AFC South right now is 2-2, and after that I'll say our next one a little bit. But they are like, this division is definitely more of a fight, and they're not looking bad fight. Like they're actually most of the teams are looking pretty good in the AFC South.
Yeah. So the South is looking good. I think the Titans like teams aren't like stagnant. They're not like, it's not like they can't learn from these losses, and like they can learn what they've been doing wrong and try to course correct. Not every team is stuck in the same place. So will the Titans be the same? It remains to be seen, but if they can keep getting Derrick Henry going like they normally do, and Ryan Tannehill doesn't make mistakes, they should be fine.
Right? I mean, it's week 4, and Derrick Henry is finally getting going. So if he can stay getting going, it's like, I don't remember us really talking about Derrick Henry until like this week. So
he hasn't done much. He was very much contained by the Browns.
So like a healthy and powerful. When we talk about Derrick Henry, like I feel like the games are better for the Titans. So with that said, let's move over to let's keep in the AFC South and the AFC North and talk about a real surpriser. And it's not really a disappointment to Steelers fans, because I know you all hate Matt Canada for the way he's calling plays. And after the last couple of weeks and knowing knowing that you only beat the Browns because of defensive touchdowns. I don't blame you guys for wanting him fired. Like it feels like it's the we're going to be talking about the Texans and the Steelers, and as a Broncos fan, like I feel like you've got your own Vance Joseph on offense. First of all, hopefully Kenny Pickett gets well soon, because I know availability is the best ability, and it sucks that he looks like he's going to be out for a little while. I don't know how long, but sounds like he's going to be out. Was it an ankle injury or something? Or
I think it was something with his knee.
Okay, but hopefully it heals up and he's not like not there. Maybe they'll rest him, just like Joe Burrow should be resting. I know, like, the days of toughing it out and stuff, we want to see our quarterbacks at the best, not just because they're there. That being said, oh my gosh, the Steelers, like that offense looked so bad. And on the other side, I mean, I don't like, it's so weird because like the Steelers usually have a good defense. So is D'Amico Ryan, like, the Texans are really turning this around, because they won like what, 30-6?
Well, I mean, if your offense is bad, your defense gets worn out faster. So no matter how good your defense is, if your offense can't let them rest, your defense is going to wear out.
You're right, but man, CJ Stroud is making some numbers for himself, like second only to like Cam Newton, and on a lot of statistics. Like, I'm so glad, because like I've said it for years. I know we're new on the podcast, but I've been saying it for years. Like, why would I ever want an Ohio State quarterback? They have not been doing good. They have a huge win loss side of the win-loss record. Like they are bad. They do not win. CJ Stroud is actually, I mean, he's 2-2 right now, but he's actually looking like a quarterback not from Ohio State.
Well, I mean, it takes some time. Like, I mean, there was a time where no one was taking quarterbacks from Alabama because they would all have issues in the NFL. Now we have like four of them starting. 3.5.
I mean, Jalen Hurts did transfer.
I know Jalen Hurts did transfer, yeah,
but I mean, either way, it's still Ohio State. The difference between Ohio State and Alabama is nobody learned their lesson and would continue to take Ohio State quarterbacks. Alabama, it's because of the coaching, and it's like they're looking professional, they're looking better. Like, there's a lot of good quarterback play that has come out of Alabama, and it's showing. So
yeah, but like there's like they're playing better in like Ohio State. So it's just that, and CJ Stroud's in the right environment, and they're looking fantastic with these receivers. Like,
Nico Collins looked good.
Tank Dell and
Robert Woods.
They're looking good. Good for the Texans. I have more belief. If we redid like our predictions that we did, I would definitely have the Texans a lot higher than I put them.
Me too, because they're really coming together. They're looking good, and Robert Woods is definitely he's one of those like mentor ones. Like, I feel like he definitely passes knowledge. Like, you can see how this receiving core is coming together, and I do think it's because of a veteran like Robert Woods being in that room and being in that offensive room. Like, there's not a lot of veterans on there. Like, when you look at that room, like in the offense, it's like what, Laramie Tunsil and Robert Woods, maybe some of the other O-line, but I'm so unfamiliar with them. I know like their wide receivers are all pretty fresh except for Robert Woods.
Yeah, and like their running backs, like I know Damian Pierce was a rookie last year. I mean, Devin Singletary is another one of the veterans. That's right. That's about.
But I mean, he's like what year? I mean, yeah, he's probably one of the second. He's with being year 5, I guess. I think he's been something there a little longer.
Yeah, he's
in the NFL. But everybody else, I'm thinking like it's 3 years or less or so. A lot of them. But yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, Texans. Like, I'm all here for it, and please keep the red helmets. The red helmets look good. The red, I'm not like huge on. There's a lot of red teams. You make the red look good, Texans.
It's the like it's kind of the metallic glossiness look to it.
It is.
More teams need to use that for color. colors
I
because
would.
some helmets just look better than others.
I would love that. I think the Saints would look good. I think the Broncos would look good. I could see the Chargers. The Falcons would look good if they did a red helmet with like. There's a few other teams that would look good, but those are just the ones that like pop off, top of my head right now. Got two more to round off our most surprising and disappointing, and I guess this is more of a disappointment on the losing side than a surprise, because like we're going to talk about the Cowboys and the Patriots, and like if you just like you could tell like the Cowboys had a fluke game last week. They looked like a good team, and they came back and delivered. That defense looked good, but this was like Bill Belichick against the Patriots. The Patriots like
this was
Bill 35-point loss for Bill Belichick's like worst loss in his entire coaching career that he started in the 90s, like head coaching job.
Yeah, so like that's just crazy, and that like I mean I know they pulled Mac Jones like in the second half, but I think that's just to make sure he doesn't get hurt or anything, because like if your offense is not performing like and you have no chance of coming back, then I don't know, it's like why keep some of your starters in there? But
right, I mean we can talk about that with our next game too. But yeah, I can't believe he never had a loss like that even on the Browns.
We'd have to see how his Browns teams looked, but yeah, it's just surprising, and it's surprising that like I mean, I think Mac Jones just needs more time to develop in the system, but Mac Jones is like not looking as good as he did his rookie year.
Well, I think it's twofold. I don't think they got him the right weapons. I think when Juju Smith-Schuster is like your best weapon, and he's a solid number 2. But like who's supposed to be like your number 1 guy? Like it's like
they're
tight ends.
They're tight ends. They're 3 tight. Like I know, like Pharaoh Brand did good last week, but Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, like those are your big weapons,
right? But not everybody, not everybody works out with like the tight end system. This isn't like Tom Brady or Peyton, or I mean, and you have to have like sometimes you have to have a great tight end, and I think they've got reliable tight ends, but nobody like a Travis Kelce or Gronk or Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez, even Dallas Clark was good with Peyton. That Gesicki and Hunter Henry are.
I forget. I think their O-line might have been injured or something. I forgot if Cole Strange. I thought if something happened to Cole Strange. I forget if he got hurt or not. So their O-line might have been hurt, and that definitely affects things.
It does,
especially against the defense like Dallas's.
Yeah, no, Dallas, their defense looked good. And Dak just managed they look good on offense too. Like nobody was giving away the ball, and at least I don't think so. Like any mistakes didn't seem like that.
Well, the defense made sure to make up for any mistakes the offense might.
Right. I mean, they had 2 touchdowns on defense, right? So
yeah. So
any offensive mistakes were covered up by the defense, and they just looked competent.
Right.
Sorry, it was actually kind of a boring game. We didn't the afternoon games were just not as big and hyped as the morning games. Not even the evening game. Anything else I want to say about the Cowboys? Because they're just performing well right now.
Yeah, they just had a lot of different receivers and just a lot of passing yards, and Dak looked great. So yeah, Dak had like no interceptions, and he was just really well. Did really well this game.
No, that's good. We keep seeing more Dak like that, and I do think they'll make the playoffs. That Philly Dallas game is going to definitely be huge. That's already got to be in prime time, right? Like one of them. I don't know.
Both of them. I don't know
right.
The schedule.
Right. Anything else on the Patriots and the Cowboys?
No, I think it's just looking good for the Cowboys right now.
Right. Well, now we'll go on to our last game that I know John's so not interested in talking about, but we got to talk about it.
So yeah, the most disappointing thing is the Dolphins unable to keep up with the Bills.
Right, and that's really all it was. It was it started off like it was a shootout in the beginning, that first half.
Well, we had a lot of. Well, here's the thing. Like we had a lot of injuries to our offensive line. Like
in the game,
both before and in the game. Connor Williams, our our center didn't start, so Liam Eichenberg had to take his first snaps in a game ever as a center.
Oh boy, like not even in college.
Yeah, he was never a center, so this was his first time as a center. And and the other was like the best, one of the top two based on like I think Pro Football Focus was like the first or second best center in the league. So having a guy starting as a drop off, and then Taron Armstead got hurt in the middle of the game. So with our O line being really good and then getting hurt, yeah, Tua is going to have a lot more trouble and cause a lot more negative plays because of the pressure Buffalo's defense gave us.
I mean, hopefully you guys can sign somebody that can actually play center, even if he's like backup quality and stuff. Just somebody who knows how to play center, because that is definitely hard to do, coming in and never playing center. Like,
yeah, he did an all right job, but I mean, we still had issues. So yeah. And I mean, Devon Achane still had 100 yards rushing, so there were some key spots, but the defense needs to do better. This is not on Tua, just like it wasn't on Russ last week. The defense gave up all these points. The defense couldn't stop Josh Allen. I know they have our number. They've had our number for the last few years, and it was in Buffalo. We normally lose that game anyways.
Right, and I mean, Achane,
yeah.
Well, he's looking like a starter. Like, it's gonna be hard for him not to not warrant being the number one guy coming up if he keeps playing the way he's playing. Tua, I think he did throw an interception or two, but I mean, that defense is looking good too. So like, it's hard to play. It's like, obviously you weren't playing the Denver defense, so.
Well, I mean, the Buffalo's defense is good, and our O line was injured, so that's going to be a recipe of disaster for the offense,
right? Something that they didn't talk about, just a couple things. First is sad, like it does suck about Tre'Davious White. He looks like he's gonna be out with his Achilles injury.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard everything about that yet, but I did hear it does sound like an Achilles. But the big thing that I didn't hear a lot of people talking about was like Damar Hamlin came back and actually played in the game. So it was nice to see him play in a regular season game. And that yeah, it sucks about Tre'Davious White getting injured, but we didn't have. I am happy to see that, with players like Tua and Damar having injuries that were talked about a lot. And Damar's was more than just sports. That was that took over the news for everybody for a week.
Yeah.
So it was really, really good to see. Them back. Damar back. Nobody getting injured to the severity of either.
Yeah.
How they looked on the field. So, and hopefully Tre'Davious White gets, comes back, great, because that's going to be, injuries happen. It sucks, but, the Bills defense still played really good. Matt Milano is I feels like one of those linebackers that would have been on the Patriots, but he's just always making some kind of move. And Josh Allen is just playing really good football right now. So it's I feel like they're coming together as the team that they should have been last season, that they were at the beginning of last season. But hopefully if the Bills, I know not hopefully for you as a Dolphins fan, but hopefully for Bills fans and the Bills themselves, you don't come crashing down towards late. See, and you can play this as a whole full, you can get to the championship game, maybe even win the championship game.
I mean, they need it. To be fair, I think they need it. I mean, they did play the Commanders, who were tough, and held them to 3 points. They held us to 20 points, and they blew out the Raiders. But I feel like I need to see them do this more against some of the better teams, and they do play some of the better teams. They're going to play Dallas. They're going to play Philly. They're going to play Kansas City. That if they can blow all those teams out, then I could see them more. But I feel
they will definitely be talked about if they blow out some of those teams and do what they did to if they do what they did to the Dolphins, to say the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Eagles, oh boy, they're gonna get a lot of the talk and a lot of the hype.
Right, but they also, just like everyone else, have to stay healthy, and losing Tre'Davious White doesn't.
Yeah.
But no, they just outplayed us. They've had our number in Buffalo for many years. It's not really the biggest deal. It's I know some media is oh, the Dolphins are crashing down. It's it feels like we're the Cowboys. It's
one bad week. One bad week.
Like, I just hope we bounce back next week.
It's okay. We if the Broncos like I said, I thought the Broncos could be a 3-1 team. If you had performed that same thing, oh my god, like if we had won those games, like, oh my god, look at the Broncos, like they're crashing down, like they don't have, because we would have been like, oh, they won those first two games. Look at they're putting together. They were 2-0 going in the Dolphins game. Like, oh, and then they crashed just so bad. Like it would have been, even if we had won those games, like it's
no one, like the Dolphins. No one said, like, I mean, the media hyped them up because of like saying they're like one of the best teams in football, but the Dolphins themselves, I don't ever remember hearing Tua or like Mike McDaniel or some of the others say that. But like, I think they're still one of the best teams in the AFC right now.
They are.
Like, they're tied, like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Dolphins, I think, are the only 3-1 teams.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a tough season. Like that's why even the Broncos, like I remember hearing Chase Daniels say, like, he was on a Sean Payton team with the Saints that came back from being like down like 1-4 or something, and then they went to 5-5 or something like that. But like, who says that it's a long season for a reason. Like that's why I'm not too like let's hold our horses. Could the Bengals, the Broncos, some of these teams flip the script? Absolutely. Could the Ravens or somebody else like flip the script and go the other way? Yeah.
I mean, I remember it's why we give like we say stuff about Josh McDaniels, because he was legitimately 6-0 with the Broncos, and then I think he went 8-8 that season.
Yeah, 6-0, and then he won, and then he went 2-8 for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So like
I'd much rather go. I would much rather be on the other end of that. Like if right now, like we're 1-3. Like if they flip the script and we go like 9-8, I'm happy. That could even be a playoff spot with how some of these teams are looking mediocre and not so good yet. So
right, like it's like I just want more wins for the Dolphins and like better,